Hey guys, it's Evie. I am here with a special guest, our executive director and sound editor. This is our special guest, Michael, aka
Hey there.
Dad.
Yeah, hey.
So I am going to ask him some questions about why he likes Amazing Race. But first, let's start on why he likes Amazing Race.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think that the best part of Amazing Race is that you get to see different places all over the world. So it's fun to kind of live vicariously through the racers, but it's also fun to see the competition and strategy. It's a very unique show, and it's not surprising to me that it's been around as long as it has.
Why do you like watching Amazing Race with your family?
Well, it's just it's hard these days to find shows that the whole family can enjoy, and I think Amazing Race kind of checks off all those boxes. It's exciting. It's can be emotional at times. Keeps your attention, but yet it's family friendly as far as the content and language. So it's just a fun way to spend time with the family, and it's also fun for the kids, for you guys, to get to see different places in the world.
When the people get stressed, does it kind of stress you out a little bit too?
Oh, maybe a little bit. Sometimes it can be frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wish the racers made different choices, but it's easy for us to say that, right? We're sitting back in our family room watching the show from our couch. They're out there, they're stressed out, they probably haven't slept well, and they're trying to make decisions on the fly. So sure, I mean, sometimes you'll get a little bit stressed while you're watching it, but overall I think it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, why do you how do you get stressed when they're getting stressed? Like, what makes you stressed?
Well, like I said before, it's just you want them to go in a certain direction, or you want them to make a certain choice, and it can cause some level of stress anyway when they do the opposite or they don't do what they should be doing. So I think that's probably the biggest source of the stress, and you just feel it. The way it manifests is just the tension in your body and the emotional roller coaster that sometimes you can be on with them.
When some of your favorite teams get eliminated, what is your reaction to that?
Yeah, that's always a bummer, right?
Yeah.
When it's easy, I think, for everyone to find their favorite teams, at least by halfway through the show. And when you see them go out, it's just such a sense of defeat, and you're so bummed, and you were hoping they would go further. But, in the end, it's always fun, and no matter who makes it to the end, it's kind of cool to see the final three teams usually, and it's always a mystery who's going to make it to the very, very end.
Mm-hmm. When your least favorite team wins the Amazing Race, what is your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, in some part of you is probably happy for them, but it is certainly also both exciting and frustrating when the team that, for whatever reason, their personalities, or they were bullies, or they argue, or whatever the reason why you just really wanted them to be eliminated much sooner in the race than they were, and then they suddenly make it to the final three, and that's a bummer, and then they win. That's it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions when that happens.
When your favorite team starts lying, what do you feel?
When they start lying?
Yeah, if they start lying.
To other racers, you mean?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the... they all do it to some extent or the other. Even the people who say they don't do it, they tend to contradict themselves. But
they end up
sure.
doing it.
Yeah. That doesn't bother me as much. It just depends on the strategy of the game. Is different each season, I think, and the different racers also used strategy differently, and some tend to bend the truth or not tell the full truth. Some, tend to be more helpful.
When your favorite team starts in front and then gets to the end, gets to the front again, and then gets to the end again, is it like really confusing?
No, I think that's the game.
Yeah.
There's lots of teams that go from first to last and last to first, and it just takes one
1 second.
Well, it just takes one challenge that's more difficult for that team for whatever reason, whether it's a mental challenge or a strength challenge or a coordination challenge or artistic challenge. Like, there's always something unique about the challenges that even the best teams can kind of get tripped up on. Yeah. And once you get behind and, you're just behind and it's hard to catch up sometimes.
Yeah. If you have a speed bump and it's your favorite team that has a speed bump, and if they complete it really fast and then they just like jump back into where all the other teams are, like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see some of the teams that are
strong,
purposefully put behind, by speed bumps, and then they make it through, and then the U-turns, the same thing with the U-turns, right? The U-turns and the double U-turns. Some of these teams seem to just be able to rise above that and stay in the game, and others don't, and that's part of it. It's like sports, right? In sports, it's great to root for a certain team, and sometimes they win and sometimes they lose, but in the bigger picture of it, that's what makes sports. And some of the best memories are both the wins and the losses.
What do you feel like when like something happens that you don't want to happen, like a team starts to lose, but it's like your favorite team, like they go to first, then second, then third, then fourth until they finally get eliminated? Like, how would that make you feel?
Oh, yeah. Again, what we talked about earlier, and I never want my favorite team to get eliminated, no matter how they do it. But the race has a way of bringing out strengths and weaknesses of teams, just like it tends to bring out strengths and weaknesses of relationships.
Yeah.
Right? You see some people go on the race and they're getting along really well, and their relationship is strengthened by the end, and then there are other teams that are just, you wonder why they're even friends. You wonder why they even hang out with each other, because they just despise each other and have a lot of animosity, and they just can't seem to get on the same page. So it's just one of those situations that the race really brings that out, and we as the viewers kind of get to ride along with that.
Yeah. How does it make you feel when if you think that sometimes it's like unnecessary to U-turn somebody? How does that make you feel?
Well, my opinion is most teams that U-turn another team do it strategically. There's only been a couple examples where I thought people did it either out of spite or just because they felt like, well, we can, so let's go ahead and do it, even though it didn't really advance
necessary.
They didn't really advance their standing in any way. They were so far out in front of everybody else, and they still did it just because they didn't like the other team or something. But for the most part, I think most teams do it strategically, because if you U-turn somebody and they don't get eliminated, not only will they turn, that team that got U-turned will turn back on you, but sometimes it can really influence how the whole group feels about you. And now all of a sudden you can have a big mark on your back just because you did it to somebody else.
If you were in The Amazing Race, would you U-turn somebody?
Sure. Yeah, if it made sense.
Yeah, like if you were in first place, would you U-turn a team that you didn't like?
Well, again, it's easy to speculate what we would or would not do in the race. I think it's always different when you're actually in the race, what you may or may not do. I would say that I would hope to think that I would use the U-turn strategically, and if I were to use it for more of a personal cause against a team I didn't like, it would hopefully be because they did something significantly bad to either me or my team or somebody else that I was pulling for.
Like they were pushing other people around.
Yeah, or just stealing stuff, or stealing cabs or, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that was my last question. Thank you for letting me ask you some questions about this.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to be on this end of the microphone.
Yes. We will have him a couple of times when we're doing some recaps and stuff. This was just kind of a thing to see how he felt about stuff, like if somebody was like being mean to a different team and stuff.
Exactly. Well put, honey.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening.
Bye.